Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. My name is Joy. Pardon my appearance because I just came from the pool. I decided to make a video quickly. It seems like I didn't see a lot of people like around my age that had this issue when I was like looking up some things to research what happened to me and just get some background on it. So now this Saturday will be 2 weeks since it happened. I had a very scary situation happen to me, and I just want to, I guess, spread some awareness on it. 38, but it could happen to anybody, I guess, if you're not paying attention. But basically what happened was I had started experiencing some mild heart palpitations, maybe I want to say a month ago now. And it would just randomly happen from time to time, but I wasn't really paying attention to it because it just didn't really like sometimes your heart skips a beat and then you just go on about your business and forget about it because it's not like a constant thing. So usually when it would happen, I would be laying in bed at nighttime. It was never really during the day or anything when I was up and active, but sometimes laying in bed at night I would notice that my heart would do this weird like boom 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 boom, and I could feel it in my chest. And it got to a point where I was like, dang, like what's going on? Like it started to make me nervous, but I still wasn't like doing much about it because it just seemed so sporadic, and you know, it wasn't anything else like as far as symptoms that was going along with it. One day I was actually walking my dog, which I do twice a day, every day for the past 12 years now. And now, mind you, it's very hot here in Florida right now. It's June, so of course the sun is out most of the time, and you know, it's muggy and stuff like that. But this particular day didn't seem like anything out of the normal. I was walking my dog. I was halfway through our walk. Our walk is usually about 20 minutes long or so. And out of nowhere, I started getting this weird sensation in my stomach, like in the pit of my stomach, like almost like a shock. Like you see somebody that you don't like, or you're like that feeling. But it was like when I was taking each step, that feeling kept building in my stomach, and I was like chilling. I wasn't like nervous or anxious or anything. And some people say that it may have been like an anxiety attack or something, or a panic attack or something like that. I don't think that's what it was, but for some reason it just kept happening. So I kind of slowed down so that I could like kind of get my bearings and figure out what it was, because it was such an off-putting feeling. It was like really weird. And the further I walked, the more it started to build up into my chest, until finally the sensation just came like somebody bear hugged me or something, and then my heart was just like boom, 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 and I couldn't get it to stop. And it was like scary because I started to like feel faint and lightheaded and short of breath, and I had to like completely stop and squat down with my dog on his leash still. But I didn't know if I was gonna pass out. That's what it felt like. I was on my way to passing out, which was so scary, and it was so hot. So I squatted down for a couple seconds and tried to catch my breath, and it kind of let up a little bit, but not really. But walk across the street and sit on like this little divider wall and just kind of like sit there for a few minutes until like things kind of calmed down, because it felt like I was having like a mini heart attack or a panic attack or something. And it was like just so scary, and I still had to walk all the way back to my apartment. So by the time that I got back to my apartment, I had gotten so like faint and lightheaded that I honestly thought that I was going to go in my house and completely pass out. But once I got inside under the AC and sat down, like actually laid down for a second, everything just kind of calmed back down, and I was able to go on about, you know, my day regularly. But that was my first like real like wake up call, like, all right, something's going on. And that was like the first time something like that ever happened to me. Like I've never felt like that before in my life. So that was really scary. The next day, I got up in the morning and I was still a little nervous about taking a walk because I didn't want that to happen again. But of course I gotta do what I gotta do. So I went ahead and started my walk, and I made sure to go very slow, and I was walking a shorter path than I usually do, and sure enough, I started to feel lightheaded again. And before I started feeling anything in my chest, I decided to sit down at the clubhouse, and I sat there for a second, and as I was sitting down, I started to get that tight sensation in my chest, and my heart started to beat, and I had to breathe through it and, you know, just kind of calm myself down. And I'm like, oh my God, this is happening again. What's happening to me? Like, something's wrong. So at this point, I'm thinking, like, I'm gonna have to go to the hospital. I'm gonna have to make an appointment. Something isn't right, and I don't feel right. But side note, I don't have any health insurance right now because unfortunately I was laid off a couple months ago, and that's an entirely different video that I plan on creating, because that was just the thing in itself. But of course, I'm thinking like, all right, this could be a stress factor that's just in the back of my head, but I haven't really felt like completely like frazzled about it. Like, I've been okay, but still I'm just thinking like, what's triggering these episodes to happen. I ended up getting myself together again, coming back home, getting under the AC, and then I was fine. So after that, a couple weeks passed and nothing else happened, thank goodness. Like, I wasn't feeling like any, you know, crazy heart palpitations or lightheadedness or anything. It just felt like everything had just stopped and went back to normal. So I wasn't even thinking about it anymore, honestly. It's so easy just to go back into your regular routine when there's nothing going on. Well, lo and behold, last Saturday before last, I am laying in bed, calm and cool as a cucumber, not doing any strenuous activity whatsoever. Cool little movie playing in the background. I got some water next to my bed. Like, I'm literally relaxing. And all of a sudden, I started feeling that same sensation in my stomach again. And it literally felt like somebody was gripping me from the inside and squeezing, and then my heart started doing the boom, 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 boom. And I was like, oh my God. I sat up and I'm like, I'm breathing, and it's still like boom, 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 boom. And I'm like, oh my God, please. I started praying so hard. It was so scary. And I like changed my position so that I had elevated my feet on my headboard so that I had my legs above my, I think I saw that somewhere, that you're supposed to lift your feet above your heart or something to get the blood to, I don't know. I was just trying anything. I got on all fours at one point and I was hugging my pillow, and I was just like, nothing was working. No breathing, no elevation, no pillow hugging, nothing. And when I tried to stand up to like put some clothes on and get myself together, because at that point I was like, oh, I have to go to the hospital, or I'm gonna have to call 911. Either way, I need to put some clothes on because this isn't good. Like, I thought I was having a heart attack, for real. Like, it was that bad. I had to crawl around to get my pants. I had to crawl and put my shirt on the floor. My dog thought I was playing with him. I'm like, baby, not right now. I was like, this is funny, but it's not funny, because I was scared. But he was also comforting me, because he was like kind of crawling in between my arms and my legs and stuff. But I got myself dressed, and I didn't want to call an ambulance because I feel like that would have been so dramatic, and I don't even care. Like, I was like, I'm not calling an ambulance. That's not happening. So I found my way to my car and I drove myself to the hospital. Went to the emergency room. I parked in the expectant mom's parking spot because it was the only spot open in that whole parking lot, because apparently everybody was having an emergency that night. Mind you, it's 10 o'clock at night now. And that was the closest spot to the door, but I got myself into the door. I told them what was happening, and they went into action like this, because anything heart related, they're like, you know, they don't know if it's something like serious or anything like that. So they took me back right away. They gave me some IVs and stuff. My bruises are just starting to go away because they had to put IVs and stuff in both arms, and hooked me up to EKG machine. And when I arrived at the emergency room, my heart rate was 132, 132 beats per minute, and I think my blood pressure was like 182/63 or something like that. It was something like crazy. And they were asking me my history, like do I smoke, do I drink, do I do any drugs, do I have any prescriptions and stuff like that. Nothing, like nada. They ended up giving me some type of beta blocker. I forget the name of it. It starts with an M. And as soon as they gave me that, like within 2 minutes, my heartbeat went completely back to normal. I was at 72 beats per minute. It went from 132. Well, it fluctuated when I initially got there, 132, and then it came down to about 110 as I was laying in the hospital bed waiting to be seen by the doctor. And he came in and he's like looking at it the whole time, like, yeah, you do appear to have an elevated heart rate, but it's not in atrial fibrillation because it's constant. It's like a steady pace, but it's just elevated. And I'm like, I know, and I don't know why it's elevated because I've been relaxing. So what's causing this? And he's just like, you know, I don't know what's going on. And he asked me all the questions and all the things, and I'm like, everything has been normal. So they tested my blood. They took a whole bunch of vials of blood, and they waited a second and came back and said that my potassium was low. So they gave me 2 of these big old potassium pills, about it's like, it was huge though. And I took those, and the beta blocker IV that they gave me, and everything kind of subsided, but everything else came back normal. They ended up admitting me overnight just to watch me. They wanted the cardiologist to see me in the morning just in case. And the whole time I'm thinking, like, please don't be anything serious or anything that I've overlooked over the years, or, you know, anything could happen. You just never know. So I was worried, but I wasn't at the same time, because I know I felt normal, you know, otherwise. And after they gave me that medicine, I didn't have any other issues with my heart, like pounding or anything like that. So I felt comfortable. So in the morning, they were coming in pretty much throughout the whole night. And they, you know, were checking my blood, took more vials of blood, making sure that everything was good. But cardiologist came in, and he basically said there wasn't anything abnormal. They came and actually did a echocardiogram, where it looks like a sonogram, but it's of your heart. They took x-rays of my chest. Like, they did the whole 9. Long story short, I ended up following up at a regular cardiologist the following week, maybe like 4 days later or so. Had another EKG performed. He overlooked my results from the emergency room and also the one that I did in his office, and he said that everything was fine. He initially said that he wanted me to get a 7-day heart monitor attached to me, so that they could test, you know, anything that looks abnormal and see if there's anything that they need to look into. And in the meantime, the emergency room doctors gave me a prescription for a beta blocker. I took that for 3 days tops, because that is a medication for high blood pressure. I don't have high blood pressure on a consistent basis. So when I did take it the first couple of days, they told me not to take it if my blood pressure was anywhere below 110/20 or something like that. I don't know. I don't have a blood pressure monitor, so there was no way for me to tell. The only reason why I was taking it is because I still, after those couple of days, I still felt very fatigued, like I had been through something. And occasionally when I would stand up, I would feel lightheaded. No more heart palpitations, but I was very weak, fatigued, lightheaded, kind of shaky on my feet. It was just something off. It was just really off and really weird, because I'm normally like an active person. I like to get up, I like to do things, I like to move, and it just, like, my body just wasn't letting me for some reason. I took the medication, the prescription, for a couple of days, but I feel like that was making me feel even more like unwell. Like, my body just was rejecting it. I felt sick, I felt like frail, I felt like nauseous. Everything about it just like, that was the worst that I felt like through this whole thing after I started taking that medicine. So I was thinking, something has to have been the trigger, or something had to have caused this to like peak in this event, because I feel like I was getting these you know, these little signs, starting with the heart skipping a beat every so often, but not like enough that I paid enough attention to it. Like just laying down at night and it just skips a beat or two, and I would have to reposition myself and I wouldn't think about it anymore. But those were like my little like breadcrumbs, like, all right, you need to pay attention, and I just wasn't. So I looked over some like things that I could find, research. When I was looking up things about heart palpitations, it was people that were like, you know, 60s, 50s, 60s, that's, you know, been smoking and, you know, drinking, or just bad diets and stuff like that. Not saying that I have the best diet, but I'm not an older person, and that's what everybody kept saying when I was going to these appointments. They were like, you're so young, like I don't understand like what's happening, and everything looks fine now, so I don't know what happened. So I think I found the culprit. When you get blood work drawn, they can test for your levels of like magnesium, potassium, different levels of nutrients in your bloodstream, but it doesn't necessarily show up on all lab work if you're like completely depleted on certain things. I know last year I had a scare where I was completely depleted almost of all vitamin D3. Like I was so deficient, they had to put me on like a 10,000 milligram prescription of vitamin D just to get my levels like back up to normal. For 3 months I had to take these darn pills because I was like completely depleted of vitamin D. I found out that I was low on potassium while I was in the ER, which is why they gave me the pills. And after doing a little bit more digging, I found that potassium is a very, very important supplement to maintain electrical signals in your cardiovascular system to keep your heart pumping properly. And I would have never thought about that. But if you have too high of sodium in your diet and too low of potassium, because they are total and complete opposites. If you have too much of one thing, you're not going to have the other. And if you have too much of sodium, that means you have no potassium, or vice versa. Too much potassium, you have no sodium. You have to have equal balance of those two. And apparently, the fact that I had dropped in my potassium levels meant that I was getting way too much sodium in my diet and not enough like leafy greens, you know, vegetables, fruits, things like that. So I decided to invest in a good potassium supplement and also a triple complex magnesium, because that also has there's a whole bunch of different types of magnesiums, but I got the triple complex to cover the ones that would most likely help absorb into my system better, and with the potassium and the vitamin D3 that I'm taking just on a consistent basis anyway. So with those 3 supplements, vitamin D3, potassium, triple complex magnesium, within, I would say, 4 days, I haven't felt any heart palpitations. I feel totally back to myself again, completely normal. I have my energy back. I haven't had any lightheadedness. I haven't felt fatigued. I have been getting more sleep, because that's very important with your heart health as well, and your just mental stability and all the systems in your body. You should get enough sleep in general. But I've been feeling like I've been getting more sleep and better sleep just by adding those 3 things together in my daily supplement routine. So on top of that, I stopped taking sleep aids altogether, which I did not know. But if you have insomnia and you take over-the-counter sleep medication, just the basic sleep aids, that's basically Benadryl, and it's like the same exact ingredients as Benadryl. And if you take it on a consistent basis, like more than 3 times a week, which was what I was doing because I have bad insomnia, or so I thought, it could affect your heartbeat. It could affect your cardiovascular health. It could enlarge your heart. And here I am popping up things like Skittles because I can't sleep unless it's almost 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, which is ridiculous. But little did I know, if you're deficient on certain nutrients in your body and not really, you know, getting enough exercise or physical activity, or eating certain foods in your diet, that can affect your sleep cycle. My body was starting to go through some changes, and it was crazy how quick it started to happen. Or maybe I was just not paying attention until it started to seem like it was just like all hitting at one time. I wanted to make this video because it's something that can be so simple for us to overlook. I'm an elder millennial, but I'm not that old, okay? I should not be having heart issues. I should not be having palpitations. I mean, perimenopause is around the corner apparently, but it should not be anything going on to the point where I'm like rushing myself to the emergency room. That's not normal. Like, it's not okay. It's not normal. So it can be as simple. I'm not a doctor. I'm not licensed in anything. But if you are having weird palpitations here and there, and you're just like, no big deal. It didn't feel like anything crazy, so I'm just gonna, you know, put it in the back of my mind. Start thinking about taking some supplements, because that could save you a trip and a bill. It's so simple. Eat some salads. You can still have your Chick-fil-A. You can still eat your, you know, Chipotle here and there, but throw in some garden vegetables. Throw in some apples and some bananas, because your body is going to tell you what you need, and it's up to you to like just ignore it and let things just go awry, or, you know, just take what God already gave us in nature or over-the-counter supplements and nip it in the bud before it gets like drastic, because that's what was happening to me. And I think that was just my wake-up call to just pay attention and be more dedicated to knowing what I'm putting in my body, or the lack thereof. So I just wanted to share that story because it was something that I never expected to go through, never expected to happen. And it was so scary, and I felt so like blindsided by everything. And it could have been avoided by simply like just taking precautions and, you know, getting some very accessible items from the store. So hopefully this helps somebody out there who has been noticing some changes or some weird sensations and stuff like that. What I was diagnosed with in the ER was called an atrial flutter. Not AFib, not atrial fibrillation, but just an atrial flutter, which was the elevated heart rate, but at a higher, you know, pace that was just like going, which it could calm down, momentarily, but it will always come back if I didn't change something as far as like supplements and things like that. And that could lead to a stroke, that could lead to arrhythmia, that could lead to some serious damage after a while if you continue to ignore those little heart skips or those little random moments of just like constant pitter patter and you breathing through it. Like, breathing through it ain't gonna take care of everything. Don't ignore the signs. If you start to see something weird, take heed and do something about it before it gets out of hand. That's all. It's very possible for you to just take care of it on your own. Like I said, within 4 days of taking these supplements, I was completely back to normal, and I haven't had any issues since then. And this is almost the 2-week mark, and I feel 100% better. So hopefully you're okay. Hopefully you feel okay. If you're watching this video, I hope you feel okay. And take care of yourselves. All right, bye.